Has anybody played around with tuning forks at all? Yes?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay, 2. And the reason I bring up tuning forks is because, and so for the majority of the people that haven't played with tuning forks or know the law of resonance is a universal law. Mm-hmm. It's like gravity, right? Like if I drop something, it's going to fall. It's what happens. There's a great quote by Nikola Tesla that says, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of vibrations, frequencies, and energies. So we are that. And so with the tuning fork, for those that have not played with a tuning fork, it is abiding with the law of resonance. So if I have tuning forks A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right here, and let's say in the room way back over there, there's also tuning forks A, B, C, D, E, F, G, okay? And what the tuning fork looks like, it's like a metal fork. So it goes like this, and then there's a little pico at the end like this, okay? Now if I held up, out of all of these, if I held up tuning fork A, and I stroke that tuning fork, it's gonna start to vibrate, okay? Now, can anybody tell me, just guess, what's going on with those tuning forks over there? Anybody? You probably know, so maybe we'll...
Maybe it'll pick up the vibration.
Yeah.
Okay. Which one would it pick up?
The A one.
The A one.
Yeah.
Great answer. So as soon as no one's over there, no one's touching those, but as soon as I strike A starts to vibrate.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Automatically.
Yeah.
Now here's the thing. So this is what happens. This one starts to resonate. Let's say it's got triggered a little bit. That one automatically starts getting triggered, resonating, right? Okay. Now let's make this raw and real for everybody, and pertain it to the sketch we just did.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about a little bit about?
Well, and understanding that we pick up these tuning forks, if you will, anytime we didn't feel safe, seen, heard, or loved. You could also call that if you went through a trauma.
Yeah.
But I think that word trauma feels so big. But it's not. It really is any time you didn't feel safe, seen, heard, or loved.
And a lot of times we just don't know that. We're not consciously, like as a kid, like, hey, I didn't feel safe here. Like it just kind of happens. And we don't know until we do the work.
Yes.
Now, what happens non-consciously, think about you have a filing cabinet inside of your body. Mm-hmm. And every time of what she just said, you're storing these tuning forks. Mm-hmm. A, B, C, D. You're just storing all these tuning forks non-consciously. You're just storing all these things.
Yeah.
So you're going and walking around life, and this person or you or me says something, and all of a sudden D starts to vibrate, or V starts to vibrate, right? And you're like, oh, why do I feel this way? It's because there's a resonance there. There's something there that hasn't been healed yet. There's something to look at. Be like, why am I getting triggered right now? Why am I so angry? Why am I so sad? Why am I so frustrated right now?
Yeah. Because here's the thing, if it, we'll dive into this a little bit more, but if, someone says something to you, you could be like, oh my gosh, I feel so triggered right now. Someone could say that same exact thing, and if you didn't have that resonance, it wouldn't trigger you. You wouldn't feel all those feelings. And so that trigger is a really good indication of like, ooh, there's something here. And it's for us to unpack, and there's lots of layers.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of layers to unpack and uncover and unravel. And it's this discovery process of self. And to make it real with the sketch, right? So my character, there's lots of different things going on in what she was going through. If you grow up in a home where there's maybe a lot of fighting, right? A lot of drama going on, whether we see it at school or at home or wherever, we might pick up this tuning fork that is almost like this. We can get addicted to those emotions, right? You can get addicted to the feeling of, because it's adrenaline. It's addicting. It's this like high.
It's what you're used to.
Yeah, it's what you're used to. It becomes your comfort zone. And
as
so
weird
a lot
as
of
that
people
sounds,
that even though they don't want, they're like, why am I picking fights? So I don't want this. But it's like this underlying thing that's happening because it's just what you're used to.
Yeah.
And then also, underneath that could be something of like, say you're a kid and you saw a lot of fighting when you grew up. You might have wanted to do everything you can to help your parents or to fix it, but maybe you couldn't because you're a child. So maybe you pick up the tuning fork, I'm not good enough. And then that tuning fork sits and stays in there, right? And in the other example of like, if you, like in my character, grew up in a home where it was so important to have the house super clean. It was super important to the mom. And maybe that mom, or maybe, that it was the child was watching that mom have anxiety about the kitchen not being clean. And so maybe she picked that same thing up. And maybe because she never felt like she was good enough for that mom, because she could never do the best, she could never clean it up perfectly, she could never do the best job, right? So maybe there's another underlying unpacking that my character that I was playing had this tuning fork of, I'm not good enough. I was never good enough for my mom. I was never good enough. I couldn't help people. I couldn't make the kitchen clean enough. I couldn't do this. And so there's all these tuning forks if I'm not good enough. And so